Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. There's a dangerous lie we've been told all our lives. If you're just kind enough, patient enough, good enough, they'll change. That's a fantasy, a trap, a game narcissists want you to play. Because the longer you stay in the game, the more control they have over you. When dealing with a narcissist, the first crucial step is understanding the game they play. Narcissists thrive on manipulation, control, and dominance. Their whole world revolves around making others feed into their need for admiration, power, and validation. But they never give back what they take. The kindness they show is often a mask, a tactic to lure you into a sense of security and trust. It's important to recognize this early. Understanding the dynamics at play will help you see their behavior for what it truly is. The narcissist will never operate by the same rules as you. They have a completely different agenda, one that revolves around keeping themselves at the center of the universe. They are masters of controlling the narrative and manipulating others into playing their game. You might think you can win them over with your kindness, but the reality is that they don't value kindness the way you do. They only see it as something to be used to further their own needs. One of the most dangerous things about a narcissist is their ability to disguise their true intentions. At first, they might appear charming, engaging, and incredibly supportive. They'll tell you exactly what you want to hear, making you feel seen and validated. But this is part of their manipulation. They're not offering you genuine connection. They're offering you just enough to make you dependent on them for your self-worth. This behavior is not accidental. Narcissists are usually very aware of what they are doing. Their goal is to keep you hooked so that they can continue using you to fill their own emotional void. When a narcissist is being kind or even charming, it's not coming from a place of empathy or generosity. It's coming from a place of self-interest. They might be offering you a compliment, but the compliment is laced with a subtle criticism that keeps you striving for more validation, or they may show you attention in a way that makes you feel special until they pull it away, making you chase after it. This back and forth is a classic narcissistic tactic. They will give you just enough to keep you on the hook and then take it away, leaving you wondering what you did wrong, all while they maintain control of the situation. It's a game of emotional ping pong where you are the one constantly reacting, trying to regain what they've taken from you. Narcissists are also incredibly adept at gaslighting. They distort reality, making you question your perception of events, conversations, and even your own feelings. They will twist your words, your actions, and your emotions until you feel like you're going crazy. At the same time, they will make sure that their needs are always met. They will demand your attention, your energy, your time, and when you can't give them what they want, they will play the victim, blaming you for their unhappiness. This constant manipulation leaves you in a constant state of confusion, the kind of confusion where you feel like you can never get it right no matter how hard you try. But here's the truth. You don't need to try to get it right with them. The narcissist's goal is never to create a fair or equal relationship. Their goal is to control you while simultaneously making you feel like you're the one at fault when things go wrong. And they are experts at this. The longer you remain unaware of the narcissist's tactics, the longer they can control the narrative. It's a dangerous game because they don't play by your rules. They don't operate on honesty, integrity, or respect. They operate on manipulation, deceit, and emotional coercion. And if you continue to give them the benefit of the doubt, if you keep thinking that your kindness and patience will eventually make them change, you're going to find yourself losing your peace, your sense of self, and your mental and emotional energy. What makes narcissism so toxic is its lack of reciprocity. In any healthy relationship, whether romantic, professional, or familial, there's a balance of give and take. You offer something and you receive something in return. But a narcissist never reciprocates. They take and take and take. And when you eventually have nothing left to give, they move on to the next person who is foolish enough to fall into the trap. So if you want to break free from their hold, the first step is to stop playing along. Recognize that their kindness is not real and their attention is not given freely. It's a strategy. They will never truly care about you the way you want them to. They will only care about what you can give them. And when you stop feeding into their need for constant validation, they will show their true colors. This realization is painful, but it's also liberating. Once you see their behavior for what it is, you can start to take the necessary steps to protect yourself. The key is understanding that you cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You cannot change someone who is fundamentally incapable of change. Narcissists are not interested in growth or self-improvement. They're interested in maintaining their power and control. And as long as you continue to believe that being kind will make them see the light, you are handing over your power to them. Understanding the game they play is the first step in refusing to play it anymore. And when you're dealing with a narcissist, one of the most important lessons to learn is that kindness without boundaries is a form of weakness. It might sound harsh, but the truth is, kindness by itself without clear and firm boundaries will only enable the narcissist to continue using you as a source of supply. This doesn't mean that kindness is inherently bad. Kindness is a virtue, and it's an essential part of healthy human relationships. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, kindness needs to be balanced with self-respect, boundaries, and strength. Without those, your kindness becomes an invitation for exploitation. Narcissists do not value kindness the way you might expect. They see it as an opportunity to take advantage, to push the limits of what they can get from you. They will test you, see how much you will give and how much you are willing to tolerate. If you are constantly kind, constantly forgiving, without ever establishing limits, the narcissist will simply take and take until there's nothing left. And once you've been drained, they'll move on to their next source of supply, leaving you exhausted, depleted, and wondering what went wrong. Kindness, when offered without boundaries, is often perceived by a narcissist as a sign that you are not strong enough to stand up for yourself. They may see your kindness as a weakness, something to be manipulated, something to exploit. They will push you further, demand more of your time, your energy, your resources, because they know that you will not say no. They will expect you to continue to give. And when you can't give anymore, they will use it against you, accusing you of not caring enough, of not doing enough. You might end up feeling guilty for not being able to meet their demands, even though it's them who have crossed the line by asking for too much. This dynamic is toxic, and it's one that you must be prepared to break. The first step in breaking free from this cycle is understanding that kindness without boundaries only fuels the narcissist's behavior. You need to set clear, non-negotiable boundaries that protect your time, your energy, and your emotional well-being. Boundaries are not about being unkind or harsh. They are about showing yourself the same respect and care that you would offer to others. If you don't protect your own boundaries, no one else will. When you set boundaries, you send a powerful message to the narcissist that you are not willing to be used. You communicate that you value yourself enough to say no when necessary. This is the key. A healthy, balanced person knows when to be kind, but also knows when to say no. And when you say no, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It shows that you are in control of your own life and that you are not going to let someone else dictate your worth or your behavior. Setting boundaries is not just about protecting yourself from the narcissist, it's about protecting the integrity of your own life. The truth is, narcissists thrive on people who don't set boundaries. They look for individuals who are willing to tolerate their mistreatment, who are afraid to stand up for themselves. They count on you being kind enough to avoid confrontation, kind enough to accept their manipulative behavior without question. But the moment you begin to establish boundaries, their facade starts to crack. They will try to push your boundaries, test your limits, and see if you will bend. And when you don't bend, that's when you start to regain your power. Boundaries are not meant to be rigid walls that cut people off completely. They are guidelines that ensure respect, mutual understanding, and healthy interaction. Boundaries are not about punishment. They're about ensuring that your emotional and psychological needs are met, that you are not being taken advantage of, and that your kindness is not being used as a tool for someone else's gain. A narcissist will try to make you feel guilty for having boundaries. They will try to make you feel like you are being selfish or unkind, but that's their manipulation talking. Remember, you are allowed to prioritize yourself. You are allowed to say no when something feels wrong or when you're being asked to do too much. It's also important to understand that setting boundaries doesn't mean that you will never be kind again. It just means that kindness is no longer something you offer freely without thought or consideration. Instead, kindness becomes something that you offer selectively, when it's deserved, when it's safe, and when it doesn't come at the expense of your well-being. When you've set clear boundaries with a narcissist, you're not saying, I will never be kind to you again. You're saying, I will only give kindness in a way that respects my needs, my time, and my emotional health. It's crucial to note that when you start setting boundaries with a narcissist, they will often react in extreme ways. They might try to guilt trip you, manipulate your emotions, or create a crisis to get you to back down. They might play the victim, make you feel like you're being unfair or cold, but this is all part of their game. It's important to stay firm and not let their emotional manipulation sway you. Your boundaries are about preserving your own peace and well-being, and that is more important than their temporary discomfort. By setting boundaries with a narcissist, you begin to reclaim control of your life. You stop being a passive participant in their emotional games, and you become an active creator of your own space. And that's where true power lies, not in being endlessly kind, but in knowing when to stand your ground and protect yourself. Respecting yourself is the foundation of any healthy relationship, but it becomes even more critical when you are dealing with a narcissist. Narcissists do not respect boundaries, and they certainly don't respect others unless those others have something to offer them. The moment you place your self-worth in the hands of a narcissist, you lose your power. They are experts at manipulating your emotions, causing you to question your own value, all while they continue to use you for their own benefit. If you don't respect yourself, you give them permission to trample over your needs, desires, and emotional health. In this situation, respecting yourself is not optional. It is a necessity for maintaining your sanity and sense of self. Self-respect starts with understanding that you are worthy of respect, no matter what a narcissist may try to convince you. The narcissist will try to make you believe that you are nothing without them, that you are not enough, or that your value is dependent on their approval. This is how they maintain control. They make you doubt your worth, making you feel as though you need their validation to feel good about yourself. But this is a lie. You do not need anyone's approval to validate your existence or your worth. Your value comes from within, and it is defined by who you are, not by what others think of you. To respect yourself, you have to stop allowing the narcissist to dictate how you feel about yourself. Their criticisms, manipulations, and gaslighting are designed to chip away at your self-esteem and sense of worth. But you must stand firm in the knowledge that their words are not a reflection of who you are, they are a reflection of who they are. The narcissist's need to belittle others stems from their own deep insecurity and inability to face their own flaws. They project their pain onto you, trying to make you feel small so they can feel powerful. But their tactics only work if you allow them to. When you respect yourself, you stop tolerating disrespect. You no longer allow a narcissist to treat you as though you are invisible or unimportant. You stand up for yourself, not because you are seeking a confrontation, but because you recognize that you are worthy of dignity and respect. It's about knowing that you are entitled to be treated well, to be listened to, and to be valued. When you respect yourself, you stop begging for the narcissist's attention, approval, or affection. You stop putting them on a pedestal, hoping that they will one day see your worth. You realize that you do not need their validation to feel complete. You are already enough, just as you are. Respecting yourself also means taking care of your emotional and mental well-being. It means knowing when to walk away, when to disengage, and when to let go. The narcissist will try to convince you that leaving them or distancing yourself from them will lead to your downfall, that you will be nothing without them. But that is their lie, designed to keep you hooked. In reality, leaving a narcissist is often the healthiest choice you can make for yourself. It's about protecting your peace and preserving your self-esteem. You don't need someone who constantly drains your energy and leaves you questioning your worth. When you respect yourself, you understand that your peace is worth more than their toxic behavior. This also means recognizing the patterns of behavior that a narcissist uses to undermine you. Narcissists are skilled at gaslighting, a tactic where they distort your perception of reality, making you second-guess your own feelings and experiences. They will twist your words, deny their actions, and manipulate the truth until you feel like you're going crazy. When you respect yourself, you no longer allow this manipulation to cloud your judgment. You trust your instincts and you hold on to your truth, no matter how hard the narcissist tries to make you doubt it. You start to see their behavior for what it is, a desperate attempt to maintain control over you. Once you realize this, you can break free from their grip. Self-respect also means not sacrificing your own happiness for the sake of the narcissist. Narcissists will often make you feel like their happiness is your responsibility. But the truth is, they will never be satisfied. No matter how much you give, they will always demand more. This is why it's so important to recognize that their happiness is not your job, and it never will be. You are not obligated to keep them happy at the expense of your own well-being. The moment you realize this, you start to take back control over your own life. You start living for yourself, not for them. When you respect yourself, you stop making excuses for the narcissist. You stop justifying their behavior, excusing their lack of empathy, and believing their lies. You stop telling yourself that they will change, that they will become a better person if you just try harder or be more patient. Narcissists do not change unless they choose to do so, and even then, their change is often superficial. beneficial. When you respect yourself, you no longer waste your energy on someone who is incapable of giving you the love, care, and respect you deserve. Respecting yourself also means understanding that your time and energy are valuable. You stop allowing the narcissist to monopolize your attention, to drain your resources, or to control your life. You set clear boundaries and stand by them, knowing that your needs are just as important as theirs. You stop being a doormat for them to walk all over, and instead, you start prioritizing your own needs, desires, and goals. This is not selfish, it is necessary. When you respect yourself, you understand that your happiness is not dependent on anyone else's approval or validation. You start to live your life on your own terms, without the need for constant affirmation from a narcissist. Ultimately, self-respect is about reclaiming your power. It's about taking back control of your life and refusing to let anyone, especially a narcissist, dictate your worth. You are valuable, you are worthy, and you are enough just as you are. When you respect yourself, you no longer allow anyone to make you feel small, insignificant, or unworthy. You understand that you deserve happiness, peace, and love, and you will not settle for anything less. One of the most critical aspects of breaking free from a narcissist's control is learning to stop seeking their validation. Narcissists thrive on the need for admiration and attention, and they will do whatever it takes to maintain their position as the center of the universe in your life. They will feed you just enough praise, attention, and affection to keep you hooked, making you crave more of their approval. However, the problem is that their validation is never truly given. It's conditional, inconsistent, and ultimately empty. When you stop seeking their approval, you take back your power, regain your emotional independence, and step out of the cycle of manipulation and dependency they've tried to trap you in. The first step in breaking this dependency on their validation is to recognize the truth about it. Narcissists do not validate others from a place of genuine care. Their praise and affection are tools. They are used to reinforce their control over you, to maintain a power dynamic where you are constantly chasing after their approval. They might give you just enough affection or attention to make you feel special, only to withhold it when you least expect it, creating a constant cycle of emotional highs and lows. You are left constantly striving for more, trying to regain that approval that was never truly yours to begin with. This constant seeking of validation only keeps you in a state of emotional instability and dependence on someone who cannot give you the kind of affirmation you deserve. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from a narcissist, especially when their attention and affection feel so fleeting and precious. When a narcissist offers you praise, you feel good about yourself, even if that praise is inconsistent or undeserved. The problem is that this praise is always a bait. Narcissists have perfected the art of creating an emotional vacuum where you feel you must perform, act, or behave in a certain way in order to get their approval. They might give you just enough positive reinforcement to make you want to do more, but their validation is always a dangling carrot, out of reach and impossible to fully grasp. This leaves you feeling as though you are never quite enough, always striving, always chasing, but never satisfied. Stopping the cycle of seeking validation from a narcissist means you have to stop giving them the power to dictate your worth. It means realizing that your value does not come from their approval. Your worth is inherent in who you are as a person, not based on how well you please someone who is only interested in exploiting you for their own needs. The moment you stop looking for their validation, you shift your focus inward. You begin to recognize that the only validation you need is your own. You start to trust your own judgment, affirm your own worth, and give yourself the validation that you had been seeking externally. When you stop seeking validation from a narcissist, you also stop playing the role they want you to play. Narcissists often manipulate others into fitting into a box, whether it's as the perfect partner, the loyal friend, or the supportive employee. They want you to perform for them, to give them something they can use to validate their own superiority. But once you stop chasing their approval, you begin to see the ways in which they have been using you for their own ego boost. You stop becoming an extension of their needs, and instead you become your own person with your own identity, needs, and desires. This shift in mindset is incredibly liberating. The validation you were once desperate for starts to feel unnecessary. You begin to realize that the emotional satisfaction that comes from true self-acceptance is far more rewarding than anything a narcissist could ever give you. Their praise might temporarily make you feel good, but it always comes with a price: your self-respect, your dignity, and your peace of mind. The moment you stop seeking their validation, you stop paying that price, It's also important to recognize that a narcissist's approval is not something you want or need. The validation they offer is often shallow, conditional, and rooted in their own selfish interests. They validate you only when it benefits them. When you stop seeking that validation, you take away the narcissist's ability to control you through manipulation. You no longer allow them to determine your value based on whether you meet their needs or not. Instead, you decide that your worth is not contingent upon whether they approve of you or whether they see you as useful to them. Your value is intrinsic. It is not up for negotiation. To truly break free from this cycle, you need to cultivate self-confidence. This means acknowledging your own worth, regardless of external approval. It means learning to affirm your achievements, your strengths, and your qualities without waiting for someone else to notice. Self-agitation comes from within. It's about recognizing that you are enough without needing anyone to tell you so. The more you build this inner confidence, the less you will be affected by the narcissist's behavior. You will stop seeking their praise because you no longer need it to feel validated. Additionally, when you stop seeking a narcissist's validation, you free yourself from the emotional manipulation that comes with it. Narcissists will often use validation as a form of control, rewarding you with praise when they want something from you and withholding it when they want to punish you or make you feel inferior. This push and pull creates a toxic dynamic where you are constantly unsure of where you stand with them. Once you stop chasing their approval, you remove yourself from this toxic cycle. You no longer feel the constant need to prove yourself, and you begin to regain emotional independence. Ultimately, stopping the cycle of seeking validation from a narcissist is about taking back your power and regaining control over your life. You stop letting them define your worth, and you start defining it for yourself. This is an act of empowerment. It's about reclaiming your own sense of self and learning to trust in your own abilities, opinions, and feelings. Once you stop seeking their validation, you stop giving them control over your happiness. You begin to realize that true fulfillment doesn't come from external approval, but from within. And that is the moment you begin to free yourself from the narcissist's hold. When dealing with a narcissist, it's critical to understand that they will never respect your needs, your feelings, or your boundaries in the way that a healthy individual would. Their capacity for empathy is severely limited, and they often view others as tools to serve their own needs and desires. This is why it is crucial to stop giving them what they want and start focusing on taking care of your own emotional health and well-being. When you stop prioritizing their needs above your own, you begin to take back control over your life and regain your emotional independence. This shift in focus is not selfish. It is necessary for your mental, emotional, and physical health. One of the most damaging aspects of dealing with a narcissist is that they are relentless in demanding your time, attention, and energy. They will continuously make you feel as though their needs are more important than your own, and they will often try to guilt trip you into giving more than you can afford. Emotionally, mentally, or even financially. They may use manipulation, flattery, or even threats to get what they want. And if you comply, they will take advantage of your willingness to please. The moment you start to focus on taking care of yourself and putting your own needs first, you stop enabling this toxic dynamic. Taking care of yourself means setting clear boundaries and refusing to let the narcissist cross them. It means saying no when you need to, even if it makes the narcissist angry or upset. This might feel difficult at first, especially if you have been conditioned to please them or feel guilty about taking time for yourself. But the truth is, the narcissist will never care about your needs in the same way that they care about their own. They may pretend to be concerned or show you fleeting moments of affection, but this is all part of their manipulation to keep you hooked and in service to them. The more you give without expecting anything in return, the more they will take. When you stop giving them what they want, you stop being a source of emotional supply for them. Focusing on your own needs also means acknowledging your emotional and physical limits. Narcissists will try to push you to give beyond what you can handle, taking more and more of your energy and leaving you exhausted, emotionally drained, and unable to care for yourself. They thrive in situations where they can drain you because it reinforces their sense of power and control. But when you start to focus on yourself and prioritize your own well-being, you create space to heal and regain your strength. You stop allowing them to deplete you, and you start replenishing your own reserves of emotional energy. This can be as simple as taking time each day to do something something that brings you peace, whether it's meditating, reading, exercising, or spending time with people who truly care about you. The key is to stop making their needs your primary focus and start putting yourself first. Part of taking care of yourself also means recognizing the emotional toll that a narcissist's behavior takes on you. Narcissists often engage in emotionally abusive behavior, such as gaslighting, verbal abuse, and constant criticism, intended to destabilize you and make you feel unworthy. This constant barrage of negativity can leave you feeling anxious, insecure, and mentally exhausted. It can erode your self-esteem and make you question your own worth. But when you make a conscious effort to prioritize your own emotional health, you begin to recognize the damage that their behavior causes and take steps to protect yourself from it. You learn to trust your own feelings, to validate your own experiences, and to stop second-guessing yourself based on their manipulative tactics. You also learn to stop internalizing their negative messages and begin to replace them with positive affirmations about your own value. Another important aspect of focusing on yourself is letting go of the unrealistic hope that the narcissist will change. Narcissists rarely change, no matter how much you try to please them or how many sacrifices you make on their behalf. Their behavior is deeply ingrained, and their lack of empathy makes them resistant to genuine self-reflection or growth. You might have spent years trying to fix the relationship, trying to earn their love and respect, but it's important to acknowledge that the narcissist's inability to change is not a reflection of your efforts. It's a reflection of their personality. When you stop focusing on changing them and start focusing on yourself, you free yourself from the endless cycle of disappointment and frustration. You stop waiting for them to come around and you start living for yourself instead of waiting for their approval or acknowledgement. Focusing on yourself also means taking a hard look at the dynamics of the relationship. Narcissistic relationships are often lopsided, where one person's needs are consistently prioritized over the others. This can create a deep sense of emotional imbalance where you feel as though your own needs are always pushed aside in favor of the narcissist. When you stop giving them what they want, you start to create a more balanced relationship, either by establishing boundaries that protect your well-being or by recognizing that the relationship is too toxic to continue. Either way, you stop allowing them to dictate the terms of your life. It's also important to recognize that focusing on yourself doesn't mean cutting off the narcissist completely, unless that's the best choice for your well-being. It means no longer letting them consume your life. You start to set clear boundaries, reduce your emotional investment in their manipulation, and focus more on the things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and peace. It might mean spending less time with them or giving them less access to your emotional energy. The goal is to take back control of your life, your time, and your happiness. Ultimately, when you stop giving the narcissist what they want, you stop being a victim of their manipulative tactics. You start to regain your independence, your sense of self, and your emotional strength. You stop allowing them to define your worth and start creating a life that is focused on your own needs, desires, and happiness. This shift in focus is empowering because it frees you from the emotional control they have held over you. It's a step toward healing, self-love, and personal growth. When you make the decision to prioritize yourself over the narcissist's endless demands, you start the journey of reclaiming your life and your happiness. In conclusion, dealing with a narcissist can be one of the most emotionally exhausting and draining experiences of your life. They thrive on manipulation, control, and feeding off of others' attention and energy. But the key to breaking free from their toxic grip lies in shifting your focus inward. Stop being kind and nice to them in the hopes of earning their affection or approval, because you will never find genuine love, respect, or validation in that dynamic. Instead, start respecting yourself, setting firm boundaries, and taking care of your emotional and mental well-being. Recognize that your worth does not come from their validation, but from within. It's time to stop giving them the power to dictate your happiness and start living for yourself. Remember, the narcissist's need for control will never cease, but your ability to reclaim your power is always within your reach. When you stop seeking their approval, stop tolerating their disrespect, and stop giving them what they want at the expense of your own happiness, you take back your life. You stop allowing them to define your worth, and you start defining it for yourself. You start living your life on your terms, building a future rooted in self-respect, emotional independence, and true fulfillment. It's time to stop allowing anyone, especially a narcissist, to control your emotional landscape. Embrace your worth, set boundaries, prioritize your own happiness, and reclaim your power. You are worthy of respect, love, and peace, And the moment you realize that is the moment you take the first step towards true liberation from the narcissist's control. Your life is yours to live, and it's time to stop letting anyone, especially a narcissist, dictate how that story is written. You have the strength to break free, and the world is waiting for you to step into the fullness of who you are.